Welcome to another episode of Start the Week with Wisdom. I'm your host, Bridget Burns with the University Innovation Alliance.
And I'm Sara, Custer, Editor-in-Chief at Inside Higher Ed.
Today, we are super excited to welcome a new episode featuring a new leader that we are just thrilled to be able to elevate. So each week I team up with Sara where we have a conversation with a sitting college president or chancellor who we think you should be learning from, someone who is modeling the kind of values and impact that we need to see more broadly throughout higher ed. And that is certainly true today. So that's why we call it Start the Week with Wisdom.
And the conversations with higher ed leaders on Weekly Wisdom frequently emphasize the role of innovation in student engagement. Mainstay aligns with that vision by equipping institutions with AI-driven communication platforms that facilitate timely interventions and support driving academic success. And you can learn more all about that at mainstay.com.
The show is also sponsored by, it's broadcast on the Innovating Together podcast, and it's also sponsored by the Carnegie Corporation of New York. So we're grateful for their support. But now, drum roll, I'm super excited to bring the President Satish Tripathi on the show. He joins us after from the University of Buffalo, which we've had him on one time previously, but this feels like it's a bittersweet, tremendous opportunity to kind of soak up his wisdom right now, where his leadership has been as president for more than a decade, but prior to that, he was provost at Buffalo. So he's been there for more than 22 years, really fundamentally shaped the institution and its relationship with the broader community and within higher ed. So I wanted to take the opportunity to connect with him because he did announce that he is going to be retiring in July, which you wouldn't know based on the way that he is continuing in the role. So Satish, thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you.
Bridget and Sara, good to be here, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's an honor. So, you, as I said, you're not going to be retiring for another more than 6 months, but I'm curious if, as you reflect, and I know that you're continuing to keep your head down and work hard. I'm just wondering if you can start us by grounding us in kind of what you see as what has changed the most in your time at Buffalo, and I would guess it would have to do with Buffalo itself and what you're most proud of.
So that's a great question, Bridget. Buffalo is an old city, which was one of the richest city in the country 100 years ago. It has gone through a lot of transformation and economically really gone down in the last 50 years. UB is in the city, it's outside the city, but really if you think about higher education, its role is not only educate the students, but also the well-being of where we are located. So one of the very things we did early on was move the medical school downtown. This is a plan we've been working on for a while, a major project which really takes the entire medical school, builds a new building there, and also we get closer to our hospital partners. This has changed the economic aspects of the whole area where we have moved in. But also we developed some incubators in the downtown. We have got multiple research buildings. So really we are totally tied to the city of Buffalo. And I feel really very fortunate to be a president here while we are working with the city and the Western New York region to make economic impact.
So that must be is there one specific thing that stands out for you though, Satish, in the 22 years that you've spent at the University at Buffalo? Is there a specific accomplishment that you're most proud of that you see is really marking your legacy at that institution?
So legacy is not really something for me to define, Sara, as you know. Legacies are defined by others, but I think if I've been able to change the institution in a positive direction where we are right now, that would be the legacy. It's not one thing, but institution of higher education, a research institution of higher education, what does it do? It really has to provide the students the best education it can, have them succeed, which really is measured in multiple ways, whether you look at the graduation rate, whether you look at really the student success in terms of national and international awards, whether you look at really they're going to professional graduate schools, all of that combined, if you think about the 15 years or 22 years, we have made a major progress in that direction. So that's one aspect of higher education, but really we are research higher education. So what have we done on the research side? We were pretty good actually, and what I concentrated on are really some of the major research projects that we compete nationally and we make impact nationally, internationally. So I'll give you 2 examples of that. We got a Science and Technology Center Award, first of its kind to Buffalo. We had an Engineering Research Center Award before. This is a 15-year project with millions of dollars to look at the structures of protons and proteins and so on. And this project has really been impactful in terms of how one designs the drugs. It's a large project. This is really what makes an impact nationally. The second big project really is our national center on NSF Center on AI. This is on exceptional education, very competitive process. Again, it's making difference on kids that have learning disability and how do you detect it, and then how are you able to correct it before they become 10 or 12 years of age. So really the impact of research, not only felt by the researchers, but felt by the society, felt by the drug discovery, all of that really is impactful. And I talked about the medical school moving downtown, which really is the economic impact. So now if you take all those 3 individually and look at where we were and where we are, it sort of can be measured that has made an impact. But before I finish this part, I want to say that it's not that I have done this. It's really the team here, the faculty, the students, my leadership team working together with the local and elected officials to make sure that we accomplish what we have accomplished. It has been really a team effort.
Yeah, a team effort. A team effort, and also just patience and investment in the long term. I mean, everything that you just mentioned there were huge multi-year projects that require consistent and significant leadership over a long period of time. That I'm sure you've got a great team there, but I think a lot of that is also credit to your leadership, Satish, for such a consistent long period of time to achieve those things.
Sara, you're right. I mean, things don't happen in one semester on one academic year.
Or even 5-year strategic plans.
Even the 5-year strategic plans. It takes time, and you're right, it takes patience. And you need sustained leadership, not only at the president's level, but at many levels really to multiple, whether it's the provost, it's the VPs, whether it's the deans, they all work together.
That's super great. I'm reflecting on having done a big thing that I wasn't expecting to be as difficult as it was. We were just talking about FIPSI grants, which lots of folks probably put together the proposals. And I realized that one of the secret key elements of innovation is your naivete, and that you just have no idea actually how hard it's going to be. And so just, you really need to have this kind of blind focus on the goal and optimism, but not be aware of just how hard it's going to be. And so I'm just thinking about, for your career, like, I'm sure that looking back, you're just glad you didn't know that it was actually going to be this difficult. And I wanted to see if you had any reflections on that as a prompt, because I just am seeing that as the cornerstone of big, bold, innovative change. You really wouldn't probably do it if you knew how hard it was going to be.
So Bridget, I didn't know anything about anything. I grew up in a small village in India, and I come from a family of educators, but really when I finished my high school and went to college, I studied in our vernacular, local language. And now you go to a college and you study in English. And I was really, first week, I said, can I survive here? I didn't know anything better, what would happen. And I think you build confidence by working hard. And that's very important, as you said, not knowing what will take, but also having some level of, I would say, not as much confidence helps you as well, because if you work hard and you really are concentrated on what you want to work, it's much, much easier for you to achieve what you want to achieve. Same thing happened with me when I was a professor at Maryland. I just became full professor. I was appointed department chair. Big department with 45 to 50 faculty, 200 PhD students, a lot of undergraduates. I didn't know what will it take to do it. I was naive. And I think if I knew a lot more, I may not have taken it. But it was a fantastic experience. And I would have not gotten that experience had I not taken the chance. So one of the things I always feel is that you have a goal, but you got to take chances. I studied statistics as my first degree, and computer science was very, very new in the early 70s. I branched into computer science. That was a big chance. Paid off for me. Not that I don't use statistics anymore, but it paid off for me in terms of really being able to really work in the area that was new, exciting, making contributions there. That was a big chance. I took a chance after Maryland and went to University of California, Riverside to establish a school of engineering, just a new school. Big chance. So I think as long as you work hard and you are willing to take calculated risks, I think that's very important. But as you said, Bridget, you got to have the focus on where you want to go.
Yeah, that certainly resonates with me in terms of just kind of jumping off into the wild blue yonder without really thinking about what the actual plan is. And I'm not saying, I'm sure you were a little bit more strategic than that, Satish, but that definitely resonates with me. And I wonder if that's something that new presidents are thinking about now, and how it's such a fraught time to be a leader in higher education right now in 2025. And I'm wondering if whenever people are pursuing the presidency, if they are thinking about risk and maybe being a bit more careful around risk right now. Just curious to hear your thoughts on that one.
There's Sara, there's always risk in whatever you do, right? I mean, so I think as long as you are able to study the institution you want to go, see if you'd be able to make a difference. It's not really just what you want to do, it's also what the institution wants or where you want to take the institution. That's very critical, really. The decisions have to be made for the institution, not for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very critical, actually, to think about. I think it's a great job to be a president of a higher education institution, a university, a research university, the kind of work you get to do, the kind of team you can build, the support you get, the alumni you get. I mean, it's really great. I mean, I don't think I would have dreamed in terms of what this job would be. So it's an exciting job, but you should be willing to take risk, and you should be willing to change the course as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who thought that there would be a pandemic?
Right.
Think about it, right? I mean, but we all actually jumped on new technology. We jumped on things that we did differently. And our goal really was institution. How do we make sure that our students are getting the education, the best they can get under the circumstances? And how can the faculty, graduate students, and researchers continue to do their research, make progress there? As long as those two goals were in focus, we found ways to do it. And so I think every job has its own risk. The president's job has more transparent risk. Everybody looks at you, sees what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a fantastic job. It really gives you so much pleasure. It's really, in some sense, an honor to be a president of a research institution.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you take it, there would be risk. There would be days when you probably would have more risk than the other days. One thing you have to remember is that you can't solve all the problems all the time. You really have to think about what is under your control, what you can persuade people to agree to you. But if you're at the airport and you think that you're going to change the time of the plane is delayed, you can't do anything there. So you have to think about what is it that you are able to change, and how do you pivot in case things change. I was taught as a statistician before, and then I changed to computer science. I use the data for all the time, but you never have full data anytime you make a decision. But you have to make a decision. So you make the decision with the best data you have, and be willing to change as things become better in terms of the data and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of those things we always do in life, because if we waited for all the information, we'll never make a decision. So some of these things are very critical in making the decision. At the end of the day, really, you have to rely on your leadership as well. And you really have to think about what they're thinking, and not really do micromanagement. Otherwise, this is a job for large institutions. You will not be able to achieve things that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. This is, so first off, I just think it's really relatable and helpful, especially for people who are thinking about this role. Again, thinking about how the human brain is set up to inflate fear, to inflate what we're afraid of, and the uncertainty and the unknown and the risk. And when evaluating whether or not to go forward in one of these roles, especially as you see the public discourse and it feels such a difficult time, just that kind of retrospective perspective that like it's actually way better than you could imagine. Yeah, it's gonna be harder than you imagine, but like focus on the actual students, focus on the institution, focus on the impact and the change. Don't focus on yourself. I want to shift to just about you, like how you're leading, and thinking about fresh, brand new President Satish versus today, or even perhaps when you were early as a provost. I want to ask what most has influenced your approach to leading, but I also am asking, really, do you see a change in how you approach leadership from, let's say, 22 years ago when you came to Buffalo versus today? Is there something that for you has been the most has most strongly influenced your approach to leadership?
So Bridget, if I didn't learn anything, I would be thinking exactly the same, right? So it has been long. I think I was more naive when I came in as a provost, although I was dean before, but now this was the institution-wide position. And provost at Buffalo is not only academic head, but also budget head. So really it's a bigger responsibility. And so definitely, I don't think I'm the same person as I came. Of course, I'm much older. So it's a different person, but I think what I've learned most is really listen more and sort of talk less. The point is that you hire the best people. They've got the ideas, they're expert in their field. And my job really is to listen to them, but at the higher level, how do I synthesize the information? How to get all this together? So I'm definitely, and I'm hoping that people see that I'm listening a lot more. I can actually, what I thought was a bigger risk before, I can analyze the risk better as well. I've gone through some of those, so hopefully I've learned something in this process as well. And I think as a new person coming in the position, don't be scared of making those decisions. You're going to learn from it, but don't be making the decision just because you feel like making that decision. I think you need to really talk to the experts, and we hire those experts. We pay them as VPs, as deans. So I think, and our external advisors and so on, make sure we listen to those people as well. But the decision is going to be yours, of course, the tough decisions. But don't be afraid. I mean, nobody is there who has made every decision that has been totally 100% correct 22 years later when I look at it, right? So I think that's very critical, but definitely I hope I've learned a lot. Of course, I've gotten older, as I said, and I think I'm willing to take a lot more risk maybe than I was taking before.
You mentioned COVID earlier, but I'm sure there were many other difficult times in your 22-year tenure. So just quickly, how do you sustain your sense of purpose, especially during those particularly difficult times?
Right. So, I mean, definitely we had major budget issues when I was provost. Yep. If you remember the recession of 2008 to 10,
yep,
we had COVID, and there are a lot of other issues that come in all the time, really. And I think the only thing really that keeps you going is you look at what the mission and vision of your institution is and think about what you have done. Is this the right thing for the institution? You continue to do that. Now, how do you survive in those cases? Because the constituency of institution is fairly diverse and large. More communication, more talking to people and telling why you're doing what you're doing is the only way to get people coming in. Not everybody is going to agree with you. And that's the case at a higher education institution everywhere, no matter what you do. But at least you are able to tell why you're doing what you're doing. And especially in bad times financially, as we went through in 2008 to 10, it was tough to tell people that we're not going to do this and we're only going to do this. But as long as it's done in a transparent manner, as long as the principles are clear, I think you can sleep properly.
That's great. I think so. There's a lot of last miles that you're going to have and opportunities to do things that you love as a leader in this last year. I'm curious. So already the fall term is behind us, relatively. I'm just curious if there's something you've done for the last time as president that you're fondest of for the fall term that you already are getting that chance to do, that you're kind of nostalgic about.
We just had last month, actually, or maybe late October or early November sometime. I forget the date now. But we had a celebration for academic excellence. And we celebrated the top performers and so on. That's the last one I'll do because that doesn't happen in the spring. So I'm reminded every function I go to, people tell me, so this is your last one, the yearly functions.
No.
And I tell them I'm not thinking about it yet. Now you reminded, so I have to tell you this was the last function. We are hosting the holiday parties now for the different groups of people, and that would be the last one as well. So definitely the clock has started to roll in the last ones now. It's going on, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you appreciate them more. Like, I'm sure holiday parties are like a ton of work for you and your wife and everyone on the team. But I'm like, now it's probably got a little bit of reflective, more. You can really soak it up in a better way.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, that's really. But most of the functions that we do every year are the last ones now.
Yeah. I hope they're awesome. I hope they're the best, but also that you just get to be present and not racing to the next and kind of be able to be in that like nostalgia of appreciating the people, because that's the thing you're going to miss the most is the people, your team, the students. So
I'm going to stay in Buffalo, so I'm going to meet with people once in a while too. So that's.
I think they're hoping that.
Actually, I've said that I'm going to go back to faculty and teach for a little bit.
That will be. So I talked to Ed Ray
Excellent.
frequently, who's back teaching, and he's like, he acts like it's the best job he's ever had. Like it's like he forgot the presidency to some degree. He's now just loving being able to engage with students. Like it's a whole extra chapter.
I can't say that yet, so who knows, right?
We did want to ask what the best advice that you frequently catch yourself giving to others, that someone has given to you, that you pass on the most. And I'm especially, I don't know if it has anything to do with where you are in this chapter, but if there is advice that has played a critical role in your career and life that you find yourself most often kind of revisiting.
The most of my advice that I've gotten actually has been when I was a student to sort of study hard. And the other advice I give to people really is that if you want to move up in your ranks, you want to be a president, a provost, or dean, you should concentrate on the job that you have right now. Because if you're just thinking about the next job, you probably are not concentrating on the current job. The next job is going to come to you if you do the best in the job you are in. And that's going to be very important. I'm not saying don't have the dreams to move on. You have that, but don't forget that you have a job to do. And that's critical. And make tougher decisions if you have to in your current job. It may not be popular, but people will appreciate when you go for interview because you have taken the tough decisions, which may not be for you, it's for the institution. So my advice really has been always try to do the best you can in the job you are, make the decisions you have to make. Don't think about how will it impact. And that was actually I've experienced myself. So I always tell people that I made some decisions that were tough, not good for me, but they always have been helpful for me to talk about them and say how I did it. So don't just think about my next job. think about the current job more than the next job. Think about the next job and be interested in that, but that shouldn't be the only focus.
That is the perfect advice for so many people. We're going to cut and clip that. So thank you, Satish. We really appreciate your generosity, your wisdom, your stewardship, and the impact that you've created, not just in the broader Buffalo area, but University of Buffalo, but I think the broader higher education community. Whenever I've shared with you before that there is a level of reverence and respect for the community around the Buffalo folks that I now see all throughout the higher education sector. And people are always, I also see you at conferences where it's like the huddle of other presidents who have at one point worked at Buffalo and are deeply fond of you and your team. And so we really appreciate that, the role you've played. And thank you again for sharing your wisdom with us today. And Sara, thank you as always for being an excellent co-host. For those at home, we look forward to seeing you next time.
Bridget,
Likewise.
thank you. Thank you so much. And Sara, good to meet you. And thank you for all that you do, Sara, as the editor-in-chief. Really, I read that every day, every morning.
I'm honored to hear that, Satish, and thank you as well. And looking forward to seeing what comes next for you.
Thank you. Thank you both.